welcome to Talking Reds, and tonight's episode is the latest Liverpool news after the Reds came back to the top of the Premier League yesterday after a 2-1 win against Brighton. Man City and Arsenal both dropping points on the same day and sending the Reds back to the top of the league where they belong. Well, according to Mohamed Salah, where we belong anyway. So let's break it down today, what's happened today in the latest news and the week as well. After yesterday's win, Mohamed Salah got the winner again. The Egyptian king, as always, saving Liverpool, being the main man for Liverpool. But it's the contract situation right now, and it's the contract situation. Trent, Virgil, still no sign of any contract yet. Still no. We'll see reports every now and then, but nothing in cement. Nothing. It's looking quite bleak a little bit in terms of the contract signings. So obviously, I'm actually before I go to what Mohamed Salah said today on Instagram, on social media. Are you confident he signs? Cam, are you confident he signs?
Am I confident he signs? I think both Salah and the club have a number in mind, and ultimately, if they can meet somewhere between Salah's number and the club's number, he'll sign, because I think his preference is to remain at Liverpool and break whatever records are in front of him. So I think there's a strong chance he will sign. But at the same time, I also understand the club's position. He'll be 33 in the summer. I don't want him to go. He's a living legend. But the numbers have to work for both camps. So we'll see. But I think you're right. I think he will sign. I personally think all three will sign. But maybe I'm just the optimist here.
I'm on your side in terms of what I think they want, because I do believe that both Salah, I think all three, Salah, Virg, and Trent, would rather stay at Liverpool. If I'm being honest, I've had this conversation before. I thought, would Trent rather challenge for leagues with Liverpool or challenge leagues with Real Madrid? Choose Liverpool, but it's the fact that are we guaranteed to challenge for leagues? Every single season. We also on the clock. We dropped off 2 times because we allowed players to grind down, be grounded down. We allowed players to get injured. We didn't replace them early on. We weren't proactive. We weren't really back up enough as much as I like to do. And it showed in the seasons where we had to drop off. Sometimes there was a couple of drop offs. So I think they'd rather stay, but I think there's a lot of, not just money wise. I think there's a lot of ambition that needs starting. I think they need promises that Liverpool are going to be ambitious and really push the titles every single season. But let's go into what he said today, which is, if you break it down, it is quite worrying if you think about it, what he says at the end, especially at the end. So he also said, top of the table is where the club belongs, nothing less. They said that's what we want. Well, he said one champion in the end. Every team wins games, one champion in the end. That's what we want. So again, I've just said, this is what these guys want. They want to win the league. They want to win the leagues. They want to be challenging for leagues at least. And this is why they're looking elsewhere, because we're not absolutely guaranteed to challenge for leagues every single season with Liverpool. If we're not going to be ambitious off the pitch. And then he also went to say, no matter what happens, I will never forget what scoring at Anfield feels like.
Yeah, it's a bit ominous, right? But what I would say is with Salah and Virgil van Dijk, they obviously want Liverpool to be competitive, but I think at their age, they're probably also looking for the best deal. It's probably their last big contract in Europe anyway. Whether they can get a humongous contract in another region of the world, say the Middle East or America, perhaps, but they're also competitive animals as well. So I think those two are a bit more balanced when it comes to sort of ambition. Well, I think Trent's will be, because he's in the prime of his life, and his contract will be a lot longer, in theory anyway, to Salah and Virgil. If Salah and Virgil had an issue with us challenging, they would probably have left earlier. While Trent, I think he's right to ask the question, because under Klopp, we were like a bit of a yo-yo from time to time. We would sometimes challenge, and then we drop off, and then we challenge. And that sort of told me two things. One, Klopp is very intense, and the demands can be a lot, like Pep. But at the same time, you have to constantly be refreshing, and obviously you need a budget to allow you to refresh the players that you need, which is very expensive. So, yeah, I agree with you. There is ambition linked to this, but I think for Salah and Virgil van Dijk, I think they've made their peace. They do want to stay. It's a number. With Trent, I think it's more of a mixture.
Yeah, I get that.
That's my take anyway.
I can imagine ambition being involved with Salah and Van Dijk. I still think that they could go to a club where are guaranteed to be at least challenging. I don't think anyone, people that ask for more ambition from the club, I don't think anyone expects to win the title every single all the Champions League. It's just challenging. I think that's what it is. I think that's what the players will want to do that as well.
No, I agree with you. I just think that with Trent, it's a longer contract.
Oh yeah, I get that.
So he will need guarantees over a longer period.
Yeah.
What's their vision going forward with Virgil and Salah? It's probably in the here and now. He knows they've got a team strong enough over the next couple of years to be competitive. It's what happens afterwards.
Yeah.
So yeah, these are elite players. So competitiveness will always be a part of their makeup. It's just one's taking a longer view, I think.
One thing I'm interested about is who is interested in Salah and in fact I was going to hear like Saudi Arabia with Salah, but I've not really seen much other clubs linked to him. Also, we know with Trent was Real Madrid. It seemed like Real Madrid and possibly Barcelona, if anyone else. But we've not really seen any clubs, have we, really linked to Salah and
it might be that Salah and Virgil have been very clear to their agent that A, they won't entertain it, and B, because of their age, other clubs will probably look at the salary they want, and there's also that consideration that if they come to us, will they necessarily replicate their form? Look at Sadio Mane, right? He moved at 31. And I remember reading some article that the Bayern Munich players thought Sadio Mane was space jammed. Like they were like, this isn't the real Sadio Mane. And especially for forwards where your explosiveness is linked to how you are in the modern day. Salah is 32, he's going to be 33. I think he's one of the fittest people around. But clubs will evaluate that, the salary and the fact that, he's not going to get better at this age. And it's a big chunk of salary.
How much would you be willing to pay? Say he's on, is it 250 now, Salah? About 250, 260?
I think it's more. I think I read somewhere.
Has it gone more? I know it went.
Like 375, I read.
You might be that then now. Yeah, I might be thinking.
I might be wrong, by the way. I might be totally way off base, but
you might be right. You might be right. How much would you say is worth? Yeah, it seems like he has not. I won't say he got better, but it does seem like he has got slightly better in terms of as a whole team. The way he plays now is not. He's not focused just purely on goals. Much more creative now than what he was.
He's for us. He is irreplaceable, right? So like he's priceless in that respect. But like Liverpool, like every other club, there's numbers they work within. There's budgets. I like personally, I would give him a 2-year on the same sort of numbers that he's on now, and make sure we bring somebody in to sort of shadow him for the next, like Kudos or somebody like that. But the problem is when you give a player 375k as a hypothetical, that's a large chunk of budget that goes out the door. And we need to succession plan. We need to freshen up. It's a difficult one because he guarantees you like 20 goals, 10, 15 assists in the Premier League every single year. And to replace that through an individual player is very hard. And it might be, I don't know if you ever watched Moneyball. You have to replace them through this. You can't replace him with another, unless you bring in Mbappe.
Yeah.
somebody
There's
like
no
that.
really like out there.
No, but you have to try to replace him then through the aggregate, right? Through the team, and that's very difficult personally. So yeah, it's a difficult one. I'm a fan. I want him to stay, but like there is the consideration at some point we're going to have to let go and make sure we've got the next Salah. Or
just not now.
not now, right? That's
Yeah.
the thing. Because I think he's still got 2 years left in him.
Yeah,
where
I
he's
do.
going to be bagging 15, 20 goals.
Yeah.
And another thing, but we need to have we are loaded on that side of the pitch. We've got Gakpo, we've got Diaz, so I think we're covered there.
Yeah.
Jota plays there as well. We've got players there quite loaded. For Salah, we've got literally nobody that plays on that right hand side. It's their natural side, and that does worry me. And then
it may be case, but we've got a bargaining case in terms of the money wise. But again, it was just I think it was just a cheap buy. I think it was a good buy because I think Case is fantastic, but it was a cheap buy just in order to get someone in.
Yeah, I don't think Chiesa was bought to be the long-term successor of Salah.
No, I think
he was bought, I think, to build, some resilience.
Someone there, yeah.
Yeah, because what you don't want to do is throw Salah into FA Cup games, League Cup games. You want to bring him off after 60 and not lose balance on that side. That's so you keep him fresh. But Chiesa, who was amazing 3-4 years ago. Unless something drastically changes with him, I don't think he's the long-term solution there. I think, we're looking at players like Kudos, and you've got
Mbeumo, Brentford, possibly, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Is it Semenyo Bournemouth?
He's a tasty player, but the problem is none of them are Salah. So you have to, if you're going to go down the route of those players, you have to aggregate. You have to make up the numbers in the aggregate, as they say in basketball, I think. But I don't want him to go. I want him to stay. But we have to take a long-term position as well as a club. So I'll be interested to see what happens. But yeah,
what worries me is if they use these free contracts as a way of not spending next summer.
It's a large budget.
You know what I'm saying? Like we're saying, we've got Salah, Trent, and then we'll put him on new lucrative contracts. We've got no money left for next summer and then strengthen the DM, the left back situation. At some point, a club like Liverpool should be able to do both. Let's be absolutely brutally honest.
Yeah, totally.
Be able to do both.
But I'm not an accountant, but we bid 100 and something million for Caicedo. We also.
I don't know where that money's gone. I don't know where that money. Money's somewhere, but I know it's gone.
To be honest with you, I think if the right player comes at the right value, I think we will pull the trigger. Obviously, we can't go and get somebody like Mbappe, right? No. That's out of our pricing structure. Nobody's asking for Mbappe. No. But I do think the money is there if we want to acquire somebody. And don't forget, we're not paying off Salah or Van Dijk because they've already been paid off, right? So it's not hitting our balance sheet.
And think of the contract. The contract wages we've also saved on other players leaving. Obviously, Thiago's on a big contract. The players earlier on before that, Henderson, Fabinho, big contracts at that point. We'll save quite a lot of money. We didn't spend out in the summer. We didn't spend out in the summer.
I think the money's there, to be honest with you, for a left back, a DM, and a wide forward. Will we be getting the established world-class players, or will we get the players that we think are going to come in and grow into that? So when Salah came, Salah wasn't Salah.
No, yeah.
And that's the way we operate. And to be fair to Man City, they sort of operate like that as well.
Yeah, they do, yeah. They don't really
put Haaland aside, who was clearly the hottest property in Europe during that summer. Generally, they go for the players that have the ceiling
potential, like Savinho, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's I don't know why Man City get like lauded as this team that just blow about by spend shitloads of money on superstars, but they don't really do it. Haaland was sort of a superstar, but he was an upcoming superstar. He wasn't really in his prime. He's still not even in his prime yet. You know, he came from what, Salzburg, so he's not.
No, but he came from Dortmund. But I would say Haaland.
Yeah, Dortmund. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, my bad. Yeah.
No. But I would say Haaland was the one. I reckon he was a superstar then. But that's, for me, Haaland is an outlier to how Man City generally operate.
Mm.
And Liverpool don't operate that way either. Van Dijk, was he a superstar when we bought him?
I won't know.
Probably not. He wasn't like, to buy a superstar back then, you'd have to buy someone from Real Madrid or Barcelona.
I'd say the biggest superstar we've had in the last recent years is probably Thiago. And that what, 30
Thiago,
million?
yeah, but he don't forget, he was in his last year of his contract, so we got him for 30 million.
Yeah.
Clearly, he was a 70, 80, 90 million pound player.
Yeah.
I love Thiago. I thought he was an amazing footballer.
I do. It's his injuries. One of the best players I've ever seen wear a shirt. If I'm honest, in terms of technicality, one of the best players I've ever seen in a Liverpool shirt.
For me, he was second only to Kevin De Bruyne, and could have been better than him had he not kept on breaking down.
Yeah.
An incredible footballer, incredible technique, vision, passing. He had a bite in his tackle. He was one of the most complete midfielders for me.
So going forward then, Cam, Salah, Trent, Van Dijk. If you was in charge, and you only had to keep one, you were only allowed to keep one player.
Van Dijk.
Which one you keeping?
Van Dijk.
Van Dijk. Wow.
Van Dijk.
It's a hard question, isn't it? That's probably the hardest question.
Salah would be my next one, and then Trent would be my. I mean, Trent has the age, right? So if I was to put that into the consideration, maybe I'll flip it the other way around. But in terms of importance to the team, I think everything's built off our leader, and he organizes that defense. He's still, for me, the best centre back in the world. He's not the unicorn of 3-4 years ago, but he's still the best. He's still a leader. He wins 80-90% of his aerial duels. On the ground, he's the best. And because you have him, you can build off him everywhere else. Then Salah for his goals and his assists.
It's the replacement, isn't it? It's the replacement. Can you really replace Van Dijk? But then, can you really replace Salah?
It's a difficult one. It's
Trent. I think Trent's more replaceable in terms of them three.
Oh, 100%.
Not fully, but
Trent is a generational right back, and it really depends how Slot wants to play. Like, I think Trent is looking more solid as a right back, but I think we're losing something to his overall game as a result. Like, going forward, he's more conservative as a result, and I just wonder, under a Slot system, would another right back who's not as talented be an adequate replacement? I think personally, yes. If you said pick the three, Salah, I think he's more easily replaceable than the other two. Van Dijk, I think, is unreplaceable or irreplaceable, should I say? I
think what's most important for Trent, to get the best out of Trent, is a proper DM. I love Gravenberch, love McAllister. They've done fantastic jobs in what they're doing. The double pivot thing, it works for them both. But that proper DM, that's a defensive-minded DM. Right? Gravenberch can go forward, McAllister can go forward. That's what the best they're doing. Proper defensive DM will get the best out of Trent, just like Fabinho did. Because you remember when Klopp changed that inverted right back? It was Fabinho's improvement of form as well that allowed him to do that. Also, Konate moves over, but that Fabinho there as well, a bit more solidarity in front of the back four allowed Trent to do that, I think.
Yeah, maybe, but I think it was more Robertson being more conservative and us going to a 3. And again, like with Trent, he's a generational unique talent who I love, but like to get the best out of him, what are we losing in terms of our overall play, right? So Does Slot want to invert with Trent? I don't know. I think to bring a DM in, a world class DM, we would, in my opinion, we'd probably abandon the double pivot and go to a single pivot, a single holding midfielder, because the reason we have two is because we don't have a destroyer in there, right?
Yeah.
We have two because we need legs and numbers. So it really depends. And the DM we were looking for in the summer, he wasn't a destroyer. He was a
ball player. Basically, controller, wasn't it, really?
Like Pirlo, right? Pirlo, Alonso.
Yeah.
Busquets is probably more of a.
Busquets is just perfect, isn't he?
Busquets is like Rodri and Busquets are very similar. They do everything, right? So yeah, I don't disagree with you. To get the best out of Trent, you need to be you need to let him off the leash, so to speak. But like your question, for me, Van Dijk is the most important. But they are all legends and all very important to the way we play.
Yeah, it's literally, you could pick any answer to be the right answer. It's one of them questions, and
totally. If someone said to me, Trent is number one, I wouldn't argue against it. I wouldn't argue against it because there's the age, there's the what he brings to the team from a great. Says Salah,
future captain as well.
Future captain, You could go around and make a case for all of them. But for me, Van Dijk, because I think personally, maybe I'm called biased, but I think he's the best centre half in Premier League history on ability.
I do. Yeah, I think Van Dijk, that signing of Van Dijk was what turned us in from top four to literally league challengers. That signing Van Dijk, and possibly Fabinho as well, because when Fabinho went as well, it sort of crumbled in midfield. He was
Fabinho for 2 seasons was the best DM I think in the world.
Easy.
And then playing that lone DM role in a gung ho Liverpool team with Klopp's team, which I love.
He was just as important as Firmino for the system working.
Yeah, 100%. I think they called him the lighthouse, right? But the problem was he had so much ground to cover. In the end, he was good.
Gone. Yeah,
his legs are gone. But like in that period, we won the league, we won the Champions League, we won an FA Cup, and we won a Carabao a League Cup. So we goosed him, but ultimately we picked up all the trophies we wanted to, and he was amazing DM.
It's such a shame that we didn't back Klopp a little bit more in terms of the depth that he had, because allowing someone like Fabinho to have much more rest, allowing people like Edison to have a bit more rest, Gini.
I mean, how do you replace Fabinho? To replace Fabinho,
I won't say replace, but definitely rest him and not a huge job, if that makes sense. We could have got someone, he's not going to be Fabinho level, but someone just to cover him every now and then, to have a little rest now and then.
I agree with you. But it's a shame, you're right, because ultimately, if he was perhaps his game time was managed better, perhaps his longevity would have been longer. I mean, it's all ifs and buts, right? I love Fabinho, but clearly in the last couple of seasons, he wasn't the same player as he was, which is a real shame, because he was for 2.5 years, phenomenal DM, the best DM I think we've had in the Premier League era, from a destroyer perspective. Or you could argue Mascherano, but
I think Mascherano,
But Mascherano, when he played with Alonso was the deeper player. Mascherano would just be everywhere destroying. Fabinho was the holder.
He threw it by himself pretty much. That's it there.
Yeah.
It's regarding Salah though. I think we've been very, very lucky, not just to have Salah, but I think we've been very, very lucky how he looks after himself and how he's kept himself fit, because he's had injuries. He's been out a little bit, but not. He's never really had a big injury. He's never had a time where we're worried replacing him. I think we got away with it in terms of not having a backup for him for so long, to allow him to rest, because he's He's not been like Fabinho and Enzo where they've just dropped off. He's got better and better and better. I think we'll be very, very lucky how he's kept himself fit and always ready to play. And that's
he's a professional.
Yeah, I think that's obviously he's absolutely world-class talented, one of the best players we've ever had at Liverpool. But I think the fact that he's been available for so much makes him even more important.
Well, availability is an attribute as well, right?
Yeah.
So when people talk about this player or that player, there's no better attribute than availability.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you could be the greatest player in the world, but if you're only playing 10 games a season, give me somebody who plays a 7, 8 out of 10 for 35 games, Premier League games, versus somebody who plays 9 or 10 in like 5 to 10 games a season. And that's the thing with Thiago, right? Thiago, for me, whenever he played, he was like an 8, a 9, or a 10. But like you couldn't build a team, and somebody of that ability, you should have built a team around, right? But you can't rely on. I like Naby Keita as well. I thought there was a real player.
Yeah.
A real player in there, but again, he would break down constantly.
Yeah.
So availability, and he's always available. Barring last season, where I think he went to AFCON and had an issue.
That knackered him
Came back.
Yeah.
Scored against Brentford, I think, and then was out again for another, I think, 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
But excluding that, he's always been available, and he's had to adapt his game, obviously, over the last few years, because as he's got older, he's become more mature. He understands he has to conserve his energy. And, he's a phenomenal player. For me, he'll be in the conversation when he finishes as one of the greatest Premier League players of all time.
He's in it now, yeah. He's definitely in it now. From one social media post to another social media post regarding Ibrahima Konate, and that is really serious yesterday when it went off for Gomez. I'm glad Gomez stepped up as well. But he has posted on social media that he will be ready for Leverkusen. So that's a fantastic update from Konate, and that's brilliant news, isn't it? The way Konate is playing this season, how important is he right now?
He's an absolute one-on-one channel defending monster. Highest aerial success rate in the league. Ground duels, I think he's one of, if not the most. While Van Dijk brings you calmness on that side, this guy is just destroying whatever he hits. So really happy. Personally, I'd rest him for Leverkusen. Wouldn't take any chances. Just give him another few more days with his arm. I know it's not broken, but for me, the Villa game is more important, just because I think whatever happens, we're qualifying in the top 8. I don't really understand the Champions League format, but whatever the format is, without disrespecting the other teams,
we can afford to draw one. Yeah.
We can afford to draw, even to lose one game. And I think Joe Gomez has come in and he deserves the opportunity to start. I think he was phenomenal for the 45 minutes that came on. So I don't forget, he was the starting centre back when we won the league in 1920.
Him and Van Dijk were unbelievable, yeah.
Him and Van Dijk, and we played a high line because of their recovery pace, and he's still rapid. So against Leverkusen, I don't think I have any issues. The only weakness I think Gomez has is aerially. He's not as dominant as weakness is probably not a fair comment, but he's not better than Konate as a centre back. But I think in this game, where I think the stakes are not pretty high, and Konate's just hurt his arm, I would rest him.
Yeah, I would recommend Gomez. It's not like Gomez is this poor, and his drop off's massive. So yeah, I would as well.
I'd rest a couple of players, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I would.
I'd rest probably half the. I'll rotate half the team. Personally.
I'd run Gakpo out again. I'd run Gakpo out again as well.
Yeah, get him another set of run. I'd bring Diaz and put him on the right.
Possibly, yeah.
And rest Salah.
Yeah.
I'd or put Salah up front, and I leave Nunes I think up front actually. In midfield, I would bring Endo in. I'll bring Jones in, and I would leave Szoboszlai. because I want him to get some form. Like
he needs something done. Yeah.
Off the ball, he's great, but on the ball, my God, he struggles with decision making.
Regarding Endo, I'd rather Morton than Endo, if I'm honest.
Yeah, right. To be honest with you, the problem is, I hear that shout, and I really like Morton as well. I think good player. Not sure if he'll be Liverpool first 11 quality. Hope I'm wrong. But Endo is more senior than him, and I think you probably need to run out, or you play double pivot with those two in, and you move Curtis Jones into the 10, and you give Szoboszlai and McAllister the sort of rest. You can't change too much, right? Like I've just gone through and I've changed nearly the whole team.
The whole team.
Yeah, but when you do that, the whole thing will be disjointed.
Yeah,
and I think 3 or 4 players you could probably get away with, whoever those 3, 4. But definitely Konate should be rested. Gomez should come in.
That's a definite one for me. Yeah. Regarding Salah though, you can't really rest him because you got to put then Diaz onto the right, which is not a right winger. I know he's played well at the right when he's played sometimes, but he's still not a right winger. That's the problem with that. We've got with Salah. We haven't really got a replacement for him. We haven't got a backup for him, so resting him is a big risk. And it's putting someone out of position.
Or we go 4-4-2, right?
We could do, but I don't think Slot would do that. I don't think he would, unless it was absolutely forced to.
I personally think Diaz can come do a job there. I don't think he'll be elite on that side. It's not his role, and I think you lose something because his whole thing is that sort of dribbling and then cutting in. But personally, I think we should manage Salah. He's fit as a fiddle. He's electric. But at the same time, is the game worth the risk to, at his age, to give him another, minutes in his legs? I don't think he needs. I think he needs. Personally, I embrace him.
If we lose him for a big period of time, it's a massive hit for us. Massive hit with us. And if Gakpo starts losing form, we can't really. Nunes isn't really scoring the goals, and Diaz.
Jota comes back. I think if Jota was on had just come back, I'd put him on the left because I think he's both-footed. He can play either side, and he's comfortable on either side. To be honest with you, he's better on the left, but he's comfortable, and he'll get you goals from there as well.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be an interesting week. We've got Leverkusen and Villa next, and then we've got Southampton, and then the big one against Real Madrid. Obviously, international breaks are coming up as well. Sorry, guys, for the international breaks because we can't do nothing about them. But we'll make sure we'll get content every single day still during the international breaks. If you are bored for the international breaks, make sure you are watching this channel because we'll keep you entertained for the whole 2 week of internationals because I'm sure they bore you just as much as they bore me. Anyway, it's a big week for Liverpool this week, but even bigger year for Liverpool in terms of the contracts. Mohamed Salah, Trent Alexander-Arnold, and Virgil van Dijk. Mohamed Salah keeps giving little hints that he might be going, he might not be going. It's frustrating watching it, but we can still enjoy what's going on the pitch, especially after yesterday with his winner again for the Reds and top of the league, top of the Champions League, top of the league, looking good right now under Arne Slot. Another huge week for the Reds. Can they come out on top still by the end of it on both? In terms of league and Champions League, we'll see. Thank you for joining me, Cam, tonight. Make sure you like the channel, subscribe to the channel, like this video, like all the videos that you watch. Please make sure you get your notification bells on as well because we have got content coming out every single day. I'm hoping sometime this week we're going to do Talking Rivals. Got the match preview for Leverkusen coming up, match reaction again for Leverkusen coming up as well. Got a couple more videos reacting to tweets that's happened this weekend. I've got one lined up, so make sure you get notification bells on. It will notify you when we get post content or whether we're live, however you want to watch us recorded or live. It's up to you. And also get your comments in as well. I love to read comments. I love to comment. I love to, even if it's criticism, I love to bounce off them and see what you think as well. Thanks, Cam, for joining me, and I hope you have a great night, guys, and have a great week.